All right, so ladies and gentlemen, listen very carefully to our agenda today because it is a little bit different. Kip, turn your body around, okay? All right, first thing is I'm going to go over a bunch of things with you. You don't have to write it down if you don't want to because it's not that hard. It is new, okay? It's new, but it's not that difficult to understand, okay? After we go over this stuff, then what you're going to do during your asynchronous or independent time is two things. Normally you only have one thing to do, Mason. Today you have two things to do, okay? The first thing you have to do is watch these notes, all right? And here's the video. And then if you are online, then you can download the video notes here, like the notes here, and print them, or you can do it with Cami. And please remember, when you're taking these notes, you are literally writing everything the teacher is writing. So this looks like my hand. I think that looks like my hand. I think that also looks like my handwriting. So everything the teacher is writing, like all of this stuff, all of the work, not just the answers, but everything the teacher is writing. If you want 100%, it should be an easy 100%. But if you want 100%, then you need to make sure you show all of your work, okay? So that's where you're going to submit it. And then for the in-class kids, I do have that paper. I just forgot to put it out there, sorry. So I'll give you this paper later for the in-class kids, okay? So that all you have to do is take a picture of both sides and submit it, all right? That's the first thing. The second thing you have to do, so there's two things today, and there's normally only one. The second thing you have to do is log into Edgenuity and finish the quiz. So normally we have like assignment quiz, assignment quiz, assignment quiz. I'm basically doing the you have instruction quiz. You watch a video first, right? You're not going to watch a video for this one, okay? So this is just the quiz. That's all you're taking, 10 questions, multiple choice. So you're probably not going to finish in the class period. You'll probably have to either work on it during go time, and if you don't finish during go time, you might have weekend homework, okay? And that normally is what pre-AP ninth grade algebra is. You have weekend homework every weekend. We just haven't really had it recently, okay? But you have to finish this quiz. This is the last major grade that will be averaged together. So I think there's like a total of five quizzes that major into your last major grade for this 9-week period. You get 2 chances and then that's it. Yes, Kip?
So I always thought that you needed 3 major grades like per 9 weeks.
Yes.
And right now it's average like 2.
Yes. So this one will be the last one. This last unit, you've taken 4 quizzes so far. So this quiz will be your 5th one, and I'm going to average it together next week, and that will be your 3rd major grade. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Can you wait or no? If you can wait, then yes. If you can't wait,
at max like 5 minutes.
Okay, then just hurry, go right now. Next time, go during passing period, okay? Okay, all right, so let's do this. So what we're learning today is brand new. So please listen, but I don't think it's that difficult because it's all stuff that you've done. We're just calling it something else. That's it, okay? That's the only difference. We're giving it another name. So there's this thing called function notation. Okay, so what is a function? Basically, a function just means what's the answer. So you're seeing all these weird letters. You're seeing like F parentheses X and like G parentheses then a number. Like that looks weird. You've never really seen that before. But guys, first of all, when you see this is the same thing as saying F of X. Like, so the way you say it, you can't see it, sorry. The way you say it is you don't say F parentheses X, you just say F of X. So this is F of X. So if this confuses you, the thing that I tell all kids is F of X is the same thing as saying Y equals. Oh, so you just have Y equals 1.5X plus 1. So they're asking you for the first thing to evaluate. So to solve when the function, when X is -2, plug it in. What's your answer? When X is 0, plug it in. What's your answer? When X is 4, plug it in. What's your answer? And that's all they're asking you to do. Like you've done this math before. The only new thing is instead of writing Y equals, they wrote F of X equals. But I'm telling you right now, F of X is the same thing as just saying Y. So just cross it out and write Y if that confuses you, okay? So let's find the answer. So all you have to do, so let's find F of -2. Let's find that answer. Okay, when I want to find F of -2, because I'm plugging in -2, right? Because it's F of X. So my X is the -2. When I plug in -2 into my equation, what do I have? I have 1.5 times negative 2 plus 1. So let's just type that in my calculator. 1.5 times negative 2 plus 1. Boom, my answer is negative 2. That's my answer. You see how easy it is? So really today, it's just a matter of understanding what they're asking you to do. So now they're saying x is 0. Plug in x as 0 into your equation. So I'm finding f of 0 because the x is 0. So I have 1.5, plug in 0 for my x, and then plus 1. So 1.5, plug in 0 for my x, plus 1. Boom, my answer is 1. And then finally, what's 4? When x is 4, plug in 4 into your x. So I'm finding f of 4. And remember, the reason why the 4 goes in the parentheses is because the x takes the place of the 4, or the 4 takes the place of the x. So 1.5 times 4 plus 1, I don't know. So 1.5 times 4 plus 1, that gives me 7, and that's my answer. For those of you who wanted the shortcut, just go to the y equals and type in the equation, 1.5 x plus 1, and go second table, and boom, there are your answers. Negative 2, answers right there. Zeros, answers right there. And then what was last one? 4's answer is right there. So you can take a shortcut if you want to, but you still have to show your work, okay? So again, the biggest thing you have to understand today is f of x. When you see this thing, that's the same thing as just saying y equals, like what's the answer? That's it. That's the only change today, okay? So let's do this. Now let's do it in terms of words. This becomes a little weird, but once you get the picture, I feel like it's not that hard. Let the percent of your friends with a landline phone. I feel like none of you guys have landline phones. Do you guys even know what that is?
Aren't those like the brick ones?
Yeah, those are like the brick phones. So like back in the day when no one had a cell phone, everyone had a landline phone. Some of your parents might still have a landline phone connected to your house. So you have like a separate phone number. And I think sometimes they use it for like businesses or, I mean, here, this is a landline phone right here, right? It has its own phone number. It's not a cell phone. Okay. So that's what a landline phone is. A lot of like your grandparents, a lot of them probably still have landline phones because they don't want to let go of the past, you know. They are connected to the wall, yes.
Yeah.
And then
What's the difference between a landline and a home phone?
there's nothing different. A landline phone is your home phone. But a lot of people say, oh, my home phone is just my cell phone. But it's not really because your cell phone goes everywhere with you, right? But a landline phone stays in your home. It cannot move because if you unplug it from the wall, then it doesn't work. Okay. So anyways, let G be the percent of your friends with a landline phone X years after the year 2000. Explain the meaning. So they're saying G of 0 equals 100. So instead of saying F, they're just saying G. They're just giving you another letter. Okay, so they're saying X is the years after 2000. So if I were to write this, this is G of X, right? So how many years after 2000 am I talking about here? Is it the 0 or the 100?
Zero.
The 0, because X years after 2000, and normally when I write this, the X is this number in here, okay? So the X is 0 years after the year 2000. So I could say in the year 2000, because 0 years after 2000 is just 2000. So in the year 2000, so let G be the percent of your friends with a landline phone. So what can I say about this? In the year 2000, yes, Luis? 100%. Well, where did he get the 100? Here, because that's your answer, right? G of X, which equals 100. So that's the percent of your friends with a landline phone. So 100% of friends have a landline. Okay. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so let me do letter C first, okay, before we get to something more complicated. So in the year, what? 2010, because remember it said X is the number of years after 2000. So 10 years after 2000 is 2010. So in the year 2010, how many percent of my friends?
111.
You don't know, there's nothing to solve. It's more obvious than you think. So how many percent?
M.
M. So M% of friends
Huh.
have a landline. I know that doesn't really make sense because it's like, why is it a letter? It doesn't matter. It says M, so you just treat that as M. There's nothing to solve. Okay? Let's do this one. Does anyone think they know? Like, because this looks different.
2012.
No.
11. My bad.
30.
You're not adding or subtracting. You're literally saying this is equal to this. Yes, Vaughn?
In the year 2005, the same set of people like had the landline as the same like as 2006.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because 5
Genius.
equals 6. The x is 5 and the x is 6. So what does this mean? 2005 and 2006 and they're equal. So what about them are equal? The same percent of people have a landline. So in the year 2005, it is the same as the year 2006 in terms of landlines. Okay, so knowing what Vaughn just said, try this one then. Mason?
In the year 2011, more people will have landline phones than in 2012.
Had more guns than 2012. Scroll out. Future tense.
I would not.
Sorry, Mr. Kennard will get mad, or will he? I don't even know. Okay. Do you see how this one is saying with my x's? This is comparing 2011 and 2012. 2011 is greater. Greater for what? We're talking about landlines here. So in the year 2000, there were more people with landlines than the year 2012. Okay. Any questions so far? So again, the biggest thing is if you read this right here, f of x equals 12, it's really just saying, instead of writing f of x, you're just saying y equals 12. That's all it's saying. F of x is the same thing as saying y. Okay, so let's try this one then. Find the value of x. So I'm solving for x. Find the value of x so that the function has a given value. So it's saying f of x equals 8x minus 7 and f of x equals 17. Hold on. So they're saying, really, let me cross this out, y equals 8x minus 7, and they're also saying y equals 17. And I want to find the value of x. I want to solve for x. So does anyone know what I have to do? If y equals 8x minus 7 and y also equals 17. Yes, Vaughn?
Never mind. It was
Wait,
Yes?
so 8 times x minus 7 is supposed to equal 17.
Yes. Do you see how y equals 8x minus 7, y also equals 17? So if y is 17, 17, which we said was y, equals 8x minus 7. Does that make sense how I set it up? Okay, so again, let me explain this one more time. If you know that y equals 8x minus 7, and you also know that y equals 17, can't I take the 17 and plug it in here because they're both the same letter? Now they're just asking me to solve for x. So what do I do first, guys?
Oh, me, pick me.
Plus 7. So I'm going to add 7 on both sides.
Then you divide, right? By
Yes,
8.
I get 24 equals 8x.
Then you divide by 8.
Yes, oh my
Yes!
gosh.
Oh.
So I have x equals 3. I just solved for x.
Yeah, I would solve for x in years.
Okay, so let's try this again. Yeah. Okay, so again, stop talking. Okay, right here. G of x, that's okay. G of x is the same thing as just saying y equals. So if y equals negative 4x plus 7, and you also know g of x equals y, so y equals 27. Someone that has not spoken yet. Jack, what do I do?
27 equals negative 4x plus 7.
Perfect. All you're doing is plugging in the y because they tell you what y is and then just plug it in. So if I do that correctly, then Luke, what do I do first?
You minus 7.
So minus 7. Okay, so I get 20 equals negative 4x. Someone different. What do I do now? Rowan? Divide by negative 4. So I end up getting x equals negative 5. Okay, So you just have to read the question really carefully. Are you solving for X? Are you solving for Y? When it says find the value of X, you're solving for X. Okay, next concept. This is really obvious, but you guys are overcomplicating it, okay? This says, find the value of X so that f of X equals 7. Hold on. That doesn't make sense. F of X is the same thing as saying Y. So find the value of X so that Y equals 7. Does anyone think they know what's the value of X in this picture when Y equals 7?
What?
Cameron, do you think you know?
8.
No, not 8.
Here.
What else? Does someone else think they know?
Yes.
I got this.
Brooke, what do you think?
5.
Yeah, okay. So what's X? X is down here. This is X, this is Y. So what is X when Y is 7? 7 is Y. Y is right here. 7 is right here. So what is X? It's this one. So what is that? That's at 5. So my answer is 5. Do you see how easy that is? Like once you understand what they're asking, it's not that hard to figure it out. The answer is easy. I think just figuring out what they're asking you is hard. Okay, so this one, someone different. Raise your hand, please. What's the value of X? So X is down here when Y equals 7. You kind of have to estimate for this one. What do we think? Kayla, is your hand raised?
No.
Okay. Kip, what do you think?
X would equal 5.
Okay, so let's see. So here, Y is 7. So 7 is 4, 6, 8. So 7 is right here. So let's draw a line over. It kind of hits right here. So yeah, I would say here is 5. So X equals 5. Okay, so do you see how they're counting by 2s here and counting by 1s here? You got to be really careful. Okay, all right. So last thing. What I really want you guys to remember, okay, is if I have, let's say like f of 4 equals 2, can someone tell me what number is the x and what number is the y? It's a 4 or a 2, but I don't know which one is which. So can someone tell me which number is the x and which number is the y out of these two? Jack, what do you think?
The X would be 2. Oh, wait. No, it wouldn't.
Yes, Garrett.
The X would be the 4, right?
And then the y is the?
The Y is the F and the 4. No, it's the F. It's the 2.
It's the 2. Okay. So let me tell you why, which one is which. Doesn't this really mean f of x? So isn't the x 4?
Oh, yeah.
Right? So if you rewrite it as f of x, isn't the x 4? Yes. But if you rewrite f of x, isn't that the same thing as saying y equals? So what does y equal? Y equals 2. Okay. So let's try another one. And really 4, 2, or isn't that the same thing as saying 4, 2? Okay. So let's try this one then. Okay. If I have f of 10 equals -7, someone different, someone that hasn't spoken yet today. What is the x and what is the y? JC.
The X is 10 and the Y is
Yes, ma'am. So here's why. F of 10 is the same thing as saying f of x. So what is x? The x is 10. But f of x is also the same thing as saying y equals. So what does y equal? Y equals -7. Okay. So, and that's, remember, the same thing as saying 10, -7. All right. The next thing is this one here. Okay. Consider the function represented by that equation. Write an equation in function notation with x as the independent variable. Basically, all they're asking you to do is just solve for x. So I have 5x plus y minus 3 equals 0. So I want x as the independent variable. So write it like, you know, what you normally do, like y equals mx plus b. Okay, so if x is the independent, that means that's the one that can change around all the time. So what letter do I want by itself?
The Y.
The y. Okay, So it looks like I have to minus 5x on both sides and add 3 to both sides. Does that make sense, guys? I have to do both of those things
Yes.
to get y by itself. So my final answer is y equals negative 5x plus 3. Wait, no, that's not my answer because I didn't write it in function notation. So what is this actually in function notation, Vaughn? Yeah. So writing something in function notation just means writing f of x equals. Okay. Yes, Mason.
I don't know why, but I thought that it would be f negative 5x and plus 3.
No. Because function, like you just write y equals. Well, what is y? Y is the same thing as saying f of x. Okay. So this one, let's do it with different letters. Consider the function represented by the equation, blah, 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 blah. Write the equation where w is the independent variable. Hold on. So if w is the independent variable, is independent x or y? X. So this is what I would think to myself, just to try to not confuse myself. If I know that w is the independent and independent is x, really quick, I'm just going to say this is the x and this is the y. Just while I'm trying to solve this, so I know that when I rewrite this, 10w equals 2z plus 8. If this is the x, because they said that w is the independent, which one, like which letter actually has to be by itself this time? The w or the z?
Wait, which one's the?
The Z has to be by itself.
The z has to be by itself. Okay, so let me say this again. If they're saying that w is the independent variable, independent is x, so w is the x, that means when I solve this, you always want y by itself, right? So what is the y? It's actually the z. So this time you want z by itself. So I would maybe subtract 8 on both sides first. I have 10w minus 8 equals 2z. Then divide both sides by 2. So I have z equals 10 divided by 2 is 5w minus, and then 8 divided by 2 is 4. Wait, I messed up. Function notation. So I would say f of x, or there's no x, sorry. So f of w. And the reason why it's w is because w is your independent variable, right? You said f of x here because there's an x. You say f of w here because there's a w. That's your independent variable. Fun?
I don't know if you read it out, but like, then you just have left it and you said like, f of like 2 equals.
No, because if you say f of 2, that means you're solving for 2. Then you have to plug in 2, and you would get what? 10 minus 4 is 6. Right? So don't put a number in here unless you're actually solving for something. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So this is obvious if you get it, and that's what I'm trying to have you do. Like, understand what they're asking. For which x is f of x equals 1.50? For which x? They're basically asking you to solve for x. What is x? There you go. What is x when f of x is 150? Brooke? Okay, let me explain to you what she thought, maybe what she thought. If you know f of x is 1.50, isn't that the same thing saying y is 1.50? So what is x when y is 150? 150 is right here. X is 2.5. That's your answer. Does that make sense? So just think, f of x is always y. F of x equals y. It's just the answer. Okay, last one. Is this a function? Yes or no?
No.
So the function means which letter cannot repeat? The x's. Here are your x's. Did your x's repeat?
No.
So then is it a function? Yes. So some of you are like, no, there's an x there. No, 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 no. There's no x here. Remember, f of x is the same thing as saying y. Here are my y's. I don't care about them. You just look at your x's. My x's did not repeat, so that's why, yes, it's a function because x's don't repeat. Okay, so, yes,
I'm just confused on like why they write the problem.
why they write it like f of x.
Yeah.
Normally, they choose to write f of x here. So like f of x and y. Why do they do y and why do they do f of x? They normally do y equals when it's a normal, just like math problem. They normally do this when it's a word problem, when there's a specific like real world situation where you can actually plug in numbers. They do this when it's just like just a normal math problem without a real world situation behind it. Honestly, that's the only reason why. Okay, so I know that was a lot, okay, but I think that it'll also help